Hi folks. So I just came back from Canjam, Singapore over the weekend, and I thought I'd share some of my impressions with you. So it was an interesting trip for me because my first Canjam. Secondly, I was able to try out a lot of the top of the line IEMs that I normally don't get access to. I've got quite a few items to show you, but it's going to be quite a kind of a static video because I didn't shoot any videos in Singapore. I was more focused on listening to the IEMs and just having fun, rather than trying to record anything for a video. But I probably have some photos interspersed in between, so that might give you an idea of what I was testing out. And I'm going to be looking down a lot because I've got my notes on my phone. So let me start off with the day before Canjam when I went to Zeppelin and Co., one of Singapore's most prominent IEM stores, together with Chronicles, Hangout, and Jabin. But yeah, I was at Zeppelin. So the first thing I tried out was the Fir Audio Redux 6, and I compared that against the Radon 6. As I had in mind to purchase the Radon 6, so I just wanted to see whether the Redux had any improvements on the Radon 6. So my thoughts are that I found, I don't know, it could be the Atom modules that were installed, but I found that the Redux 6 wasn't as coherent as the Radon 6. It had a bit more mid-bass focus. Mids were maybe slightly recessed. I can't remember everything about it, but I just prefer the Radon 6, which had a more balanced tuning. Both of them have that kinetic bass performance, which means that in either cases, if you are able to get your ears on a set of Fir Audio, do try them, because the way the bass punches is like nothing you've heard on any other IEM. All right, so moving on, I tried out the Symphonium Audio Zenith. So it's an all BA set, and I found it to be musical, emotional, and vocal focused. Bass takes a back seat. It's BA bass, so you know it's there to play a supporting role. Reverb became the mids, make the vocal sound very sweet and musical. So it's one for vocal lovers. That's to my ears. Treble is present, airy, smooth, and not sibilant, and the tonality and timbre are very natural. So if that's something that's up your alley, it's worth considering. And the surprise for me at Zeppelin was a new brand called Bryce and Kimmel. So Bryce and Kimmel is actually founded by one of the creators of the Subtonic Storm. So he left apparently in about 2024, and he started this brand. So there are two models out there. They will both be out for sale, I think on the 24th of May. I tried the Lily of the Valley first, and I thought it was all right, laid back, warm, resolving, but it didn't stand out. But you know how these things are when you're listening to an IEM for a few minutes versus listening to something at home for longer periods. You don't really get a sense of how that IEM sounds. So to me, first impressions, it didn't call out to me in any way. Competent, decent. And then I tried the Osmanthus, which was the bigger brother, I think. The Lily of the Valley has 4 BAs, whereas the Osmanthus has 5. It's a total change in character. Both of them are very different. This is more energetic, bigger bass punch. It sounds more dynamic. There is more drive to it. It doesn't even sound like it's got BA bass in there. I didn't think about it because, you know, when I was listening to it, I was like, hey, this bass is great. And I had to remind myself it was BA bass. I compared that against the Subtonic Storm, which I know it's a different price range, but I could tell there are certain characteristics of it that are similar across both. I don't know whether it's because my dad was transferring his character onto the IEMs, but they both had certain similarities. Of course, the B and K wasn't as resolving or as technical or as detailed as the Storm. We wouldn't be right to expect that from it, but it was actually a very impressive first attempt from a new company. So keep an eye out for that brand, Bryce and Kimmel. The next day, Canjam, day one. My first visit was to U9. So I think some of you might know I'm a huge fan of the U9 shirt. So I was really excited to talk to them and see what they had. So there is a limited edition Mercury, U9 Mercury, MERQURY, which is essentially a reshelled churret. So if you really want a churret, you don't need to buy it unless you just want a shiny shell. Then there's the Yue, or Yue, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's YUE, okay, U9 YUE, which is going to be a sister or a brother to the churret. It's going to be priced at a similar range. And this has a more, has a bigger soundstage, a wider soundstage feel. To my ears, it sounded a bit more reference. It sounded a bit more reference tuned than the churret, which is a very, energetic and colored set. I found that the bass is more controlled and textured. There's less slam and punch. I don't know whether this is a final version or it's a prototype, but I gave my feedback to the creator and I said, maybe if you can add a bit more to the bass, that'd be great. To me, it wasn't. It didn't have that same character that the churret has bass-wise. Treble is smooth and airy, pretty similar to the churret, I suppose, and there's no sibilance there, so very, very nice. Keep an eye out for it if you are in the market for something that's more reference tuned than you like the churret. So I think it's going to probably price around $400 or something. They have a prototype, and this was interesting because this one is going to be the flagship for the brand. It has very similar characters to the churret in terms of being energetic and dynamic. So the bass performance has that same character, which is like hard-hitting, punchy. There's enough impact in it. It sounds slightly rounded, but does not lack in texture. The thump is really good, but it's more sub-bass focused, but it is not. The mid-bass impact might be slightly less, but the sub-bass is there. Treble is sparkly, and the highlight of the IEM is essentially the treble. So the treble is smooth, it has body, it is sparkly, it is airy, and it's quite mesmerizing. And that to me is what I remember the most from this prototype. When I asked the creator what was in it, it's MEMS. They are using MEMS drivers on it for the treble, and I think this is probably the way it should be done. So he has seems to have found a way to harness it and use it to its full potential. I don't know whether it's full potential, but it is definitely very, very well done. So keep an eye out for it, but I do hear that it won't be cheap. So maybe around $2,000. It's not complete yet. He's still working on it and tuning it and refining it, but keep an eye out for this one. The next stop for me was Campfire Audio, the Chimera, which everyone's talking about this Canjam. So I had to get my ears on it, and really excited about it. Got to listen to it, and I totally didn't take any notes when I was listening to it because it was so immersive. When I put my music on, I just heard the sound. Totally pulled me into the music. It was very immersive. That is the key word for it. So the bass. Let me try to recall what I heard from it. The bass is amazing. It's tight. It has texture. It has slam. It is fast, and detailed and controlled. It's masterfully tuned bass. But the mids are a bit more recessed. I wouldn't say they are recessed, but they take a back seat. They're there to be kind of the control for the whole tuning range. And it is textured, it is clear, transparent, nothing missing. And the treble itself is, well, I said it, it's not sibilant. It treads close to sibilance, but again, here's another interesting thing I should mention about the Chimera, because feedback from different users seem to have different experiences or analysis on the set. So what is interesting is when I came back the second day to listen to it again, I used my iBasso DX340, which has been modded using the Ananta Ultimate mod from Tech Chancing. I'm going to do a video on that one day. And that essentially has given it, I think, a few hundred filters now, instead of that 5 that comes with the set. So those filters, I found that when I use it on my IEMs, there's a slight adjustment to it. So if I go for a warmer filter, it adds a touch of warmth to what I'm listening to. It doesn't change the character of the IEM. If I go for a filter that is more resolving, bright, sparkly, and it does that too. It just adds that touch. With the Chimera, it totally changed the character. So I found that it is a super sensitive to source. And the first day I was using a filter called Taike, which adds resolution and sparkles. And it came through very, very nicely on the Chimera. The second day, I used a velvet filter, which made it more analog and warmer. And when I plugged it in, I was like, wait, this isn't the same IEM I heard yesterday. This is just laid back, relaxed, slow sounding, maybe a bit boring. So I was like confused. And then I thought, oh yeah, I forgot to switch the filter. And I swept it back to the Taike filter, and it changed back to the original experience I had for the first day. So, moral of the story, I think if you are looking to buy this IEM, you need to demo it with your DAT first, or your source, because it will make a big difference. So you might not get the same experience as somebody else who's writing about it on forums or in the reviews. I don't know. If you have heard it, let me know what your experience is, because I've heard people say it's V-shaped and W-shaped and all that. I heard more U-shaped, so let me know. All right, moving on. Next up was at the Effect Audio booth, and I tried out their new IEM called the Perseus. So the price hasn't been announced, but it should be below $1,500. My impressions, it's got a white stage, neutral bright tuning, W shape, very good sub bass with depth, very well controlled, good slam. Mid bass also has good thump. The vocals are a little bit forward, so if you are sensitive to it, you might want to have a demo before you buy it, because this is the one part here that kind of like troubled me a little bit, because the vocals are not just forward, but it's slightly unnatural. So certain instrument hits, like maybe claps and all that, do not sound very realistic. It doesn't mean that it's bad in any way, but there is just a slight peak around, I'm not sure which, maybe 4 to 6K thereabouts, that adds to that character. Not a deal breaker, but something to bear in mind if you are planning to buy this set. The mids are clear, transparent, and female vocals are nice, which is brought about by that raise in that frequency area. I think that has also helped to improve the presentation of female vocals. Something to consider, I think, I do not know the price range. They were doing a contest for people to guess what it is, but I think it's around there. It should be around there. It should be $1,000 or thereabouts. It should fall around there in that price range. So keep an eye out for that too. The Effect Audio Perseus. Next up, the Jomo Audio booth, and I tried their new IEM called the Koyo. This wasn't to my taste. It's got a bright neutral tuning, treble focused, and the bass is lacking a bit in quantity. I don't hear much bass in it. It's just a supporting thing. The vocals are nice though. The vocals are presented nicely with very good texture. But if you are sensitive to upper treble peaks, it might be a bit intense. And I thought the bass was BA. I can't remember the actual details of it, but I'm not too impressed with the Koyo. I like the Nautic Stella, which I've heard before. I think that's an excellent IEM, but not the Koyo. Not for me. Maybe some might suit other people's preference better. Next, I stopped at the Campfire booth. I'm a huge fan of the Silver Flash. I've been telling everyone about it, and I'm just raving about it, and I still love it. I listen to it side by side or on rotation with my 64 audio tier forte with my IERZ1R. So it does hold its place against all the top of the line stuff, or top of the line based on what I can afford. But yes, so I would say that the Silver Flash is pretty amazing. Having said that, I was a bit disappointed with the 622B. I thought it's balanced, spacious, didn't have sufficient bass. It seems to do everything okay, but there was nothing stand out about it. Having said that, it was more an impression for me, listening impression. I think it's one of those IEMs where you need to spend a lot of time with it before it grows on you and you can appreciate the details, the finer details of it. First impressions didn't work for me. The 752B, on the other hand, has more spacious staging. Same every treble, but can get slightly spicy. Excellent texture and resolution for female vocals. I think that's one of its highlights there. The imaging is also excellent. There's plenty of space between instruments. Again, bass seems to play a supporting role rather than the main, rather than having a key role in the entire tuning process. Some bass, I find it didn't extend deep enough, and I think the timbre and the tonality were very, very natural though. So it's a pretty good IEM, but I think it might have been it might have fallen behind slightly compared to the newer releases in the market. Again, these are impressions, so not for me to say that this is how it is. Some people like it, and I think it does have its place for the right listener. And then I went to the Mysticraft booth. So I've already heard the Myth, and I've already heard the Hex. So I just wanted to check out the Tet, which is apparently sold out already, but I just wanted to hear how good it was. And it's excellent. It's actually a more neutral tune set, balanced, wider soundstage than the Hex. There's more space for the instruments to breathe, I find. Not as congested as not that the Hex is congested, but I think the Hex, the notes are fuller and more dense, so it makes it sound like they're closer together, but if you listen carefully, they all have their own individual space and room for it. But the Tet is slightly lighter in terms of the body, notes, body, so it gives you the feeling that there is more space for the instruments to breathe. The mid bass is less impactful than the Hex, but I think it's preferable for longer listening sessions. I think the Hex impact from the mid bass might get a bit much if you're listening to it for longer sessions. Not that I've had a chance to listen to it for a long session. I heard it for about an hour plus or thereabouts, so I'm not the right person to comment on that. Just my impressions again. All right. Moving on, I went to the next booth, which was the Hercules audio booth, and I got to check out the new Moses Legend. So I got to A/B it against the Moses, which I've heard a while back. I still love the Moses. When I first heard it, it has that impressive, impactful, room-filling bass. But that bass, as has been noted, is a bit slow and it can be a bit on the bloomy side, right? While the mids and treble is basically an L-shaped IEM. So the mids and treble tune nicely with enough resolution, detail, and texture across both, but treble-wise, it is smooth, it has no sibilance, and it isn't dark in any way, but it's just nice, right? And I like that a lot. So when I listen to the Legend, it's a bit different. So the Legend has much better controlled bass. There is less bloom, or there's no bloom at all anymore. You can actually hear better detail. It's more tactile. You can hear smaller, minor drum hits. You are able to pick it out better with more clarity in there. So definitely a lot better control on the bass, and definitely preferable. To my ears, it's a bit V-shaped, but I don't know whether that's to do with my my depth or something, but there is a lot more treble sparkle, a lot more treble extension, and brightness to it. So to my ears, it made it slightly V-shaped, but I don't know, maybe I'm hearing it wrong or something. Is it a better IEM than the original? I actually found that the tuning of the treble made it slightly incoherent. Maybe I don't know, because it became your focus is on the bass, which still hits as much as the original, but the treble, suddenly there is that sparkle and there's that brightness, which also drags your attention to it. So your attention is dragged both ways. And I find that it became slightly incoherent to my ears. So I actually prefer the original in terms of the way it's tuned. Also, pricing wise, it's at $8,000, whereas the original was around $4,000. I think that could be a bit ambitious, considering the competition at that price, which would be the Hex, the Subtonic Storm, the Chimera. I don't think it plays at that level. It could be a bit overpriced to my mind.